Today we're talking about one of my favorite lighting tools. I use this on like 90% of all of my content. We're talking about the Softbox lantern. Three reasons I love the Softbox lantern is 1, it's soft and flattering, 2, it's easy to use, and 3, it's one and done. Let me explain. The larger and closer a light source is to a subject, the softer the shadows will be. This is one of the reasons why softbox style lanterns like this are so big. It's because that's how you create softer, flattering light. Another way that lanterns are different from regular softboxes is that the light spreads all the way around. And it's because of this, how the light is dispersed from all directions, that really makes this thing so easy to use. You can just turn it on and boom, you have awesome soft light. I think it becomes especially useful when you have a room with a lot of light colored neutral walls, because not only is the light being dispersed from all directions here, but it's bouncing off all of the light colored walls, really filling up the room. So let me show you a couple of ways that I actually use this light here in the studio. Okay, so I've got the top-down setup going on here, and let me go ahead and just grab something to use as a little prop to show what it will look like. But I can simply set this down here. And the cool thing about rocking this lantern with a light like the Aperture 300C is when I rock it all the way up to 100, it's going to be extremely bright, which is handy for top-down style stuff because I can change my aperture to something like f4. And as you guys can see, when I go to lift this up, there really is just super minimal shadows, if any at all, once I actually am holding something. So it's really great for these top-down shots. And this is all thanks to that nice large light source that is super close to it, creating very minimal shadows. So I've shown you the top-down setup. Let me show you another way I like to use the lantern. So this is the other way I use the lantern, which is for quick Zoom calls. I just place it over here in the corner and just kind of bounce it off of the walls, and it creates a really, nice, softer effect, on me. And let me show you guys the difference of what it would look like if I wasn't using this at all. I'll just go ahead and turn the light off. And that's quite a bit worse. It's very grainy. It's not looking so good. So let me just go ahead and turn that back on. And now we have a nice bright light that is soft and flattering simply by, placing it up in the corner and just bouncing it off the walls. And honestly, I could face it right at me, but this just kind of gets it out of the way of, my glasses a little bit, and overall makes a nice look. So let me go ahead and show you guys another way that I like to use the lantern here in the studio. So we're here now in the talking head setup, and it's just pretty much the only light source that I'm using outside of the, sign that's behind me. But I'm not using a fill light or anything because this light is so large and close. It's really soft, making minimal shadows on my face, and anything that's there I actually find to be a little bit more flattering. It's kind of defining, which is nice, but it's still very smoothed out and soft thanks to this softbox. And ultimately, I think this is a pretty cool look, but I will go ahead and turn on my normal backlights so that you guys get the full effect. And there you go. This is pretty much my talking head setup. I can change the colors or do different things like that, but pretty much it's this softbox light. I've got my sign, and then I also have those backlights. And while we're here in the setup, I'd love to tell you about today's sponsor, Motion VFX. Motion VFX is an amazing platform where I get all of my video effects for my YouTube videos and client work. They have awesome text effects, transitions, overlays, and more. I've been using them for years, way before I started my channel, and they are my go-to place for video effects. They have plugins for Final Cut Pro, DaVinci, and even Premiere Pro. All of those cool little transition, film burn style, flashy stuff that I have going on in this video is from Motion VFX. I honestly think that Motion VFX plugins pair really nicely with the results I get from the Softbox lantern, because it's this nice, soft, flattering place to start that I can then fully stylize and customize in the editing stage with Motion VFX. And they're running an editing challenge from April 8th through May 7th with the opportunity to win some awesome prizes. If you're interested in checking it out, I'll place a link in the description below. Now that you've seen the YouTube setup, let me show you another way that I'll use this Softbox lantern here in the studio. So this is pretty much the thumbnail setup over here. As you guys can see, we've kind of, got me in there. And I can kind of stand over here. I've got the nice softbox. Occasionally I'll add in a little, backlight to kind of isolate me a little bit. But for the most part, I can get away with just using the softbox lantern. And, I can come over here and do a little self-timer photo. And then I've got, some imagery that I can cut out for thumbnail design. All thanks to this little softbox lantern. For photos, I'll typically run this, at like 100% brightness, and maybe capture something f4 or higher for the aperture. But I'll also use a very similar setup to just capture, a solid background video. And I may come over here and actually dim this down a bit to like, I don't know, maybe 35 or something like that. Just because I don't need it quite as bright for video, because I'll probably run a shallower aperture. So I'll go ahead and adjust that a little bit. And we'll switch over to video mode. So I'll go ahead and hit record on that so you guys can see. And I could probably still stand to adjust this just a little bit, but even where it's at right now, I've got a pretty soft flattering light. It's getting a little bit of glare, which I could easily fix, but yeah, we've got this nice little soft light for the background. And this is just that one light setup. I don't have any fill lights over here. I don't have any rim lights or backlights. I'm only using the softbox lantern, and this is what it looks like. Now, of course, it would add to use those things if I wanted to throw a background color on the backdrop, or if I wanted to isolate myself with a rim light. Yes, that would all help and be a nice thing to do, but strictly speaking, just using the lantern here, we're still getting a really nice shot, and I think that is really the power of the lantern. So this is another way that I'll use the softbox lantern, which is to basically raise it up and shine it directly in the center of the room. So it basically ends up acting like a new room light. It's brighter and softer. And this means that pretty much any direction that I shoot, I can have really soft lighting. So it's really easy to get B-roll of a bunch of different things. Or if I want to flip the camera around, have nice, soft, flattering light pretty much anywhere in the room that I go, for vlog style content as well, which is really nice. You can see as I'm moving around the room in pretty much any area, the light still looks good. And that's really the power of this little setup. So are there any cons to the softbox lantern? I would say yes, there's a few. For starters, it is really big. So if you're in a really tight space, or you want to use this like on your desk or something, it's probably just going to be a little too big for that. But even in smaller rooms, this thing can still do a lot. The second con is that you're going to need something like this, a COB light that has a Bowens mount so you can even attach the lantern to it. Right now I'm using the Amaran 300C with an aperture lantern, but there's a ton of different COB lights on the market. I've tried and tested a bunch of them, and I'll place some options in the description below, ranging from different budgets. And I would say the one other con of the lantern is the spill. So it's definitely going to flood your scene with light, and you're not always going to want that. That's why there's other tools available. But again, I would say like 90% of the time, a light like this softbox lantern for a lot of content creators is going to work really well, because it is just going to flood your scene with light, which is ultimately what you want because it's that soft, flattering light. This is actually something I really like about the aperture lantern, is it comes with this little piece of gear that you can use to block some of that spill, which is really handy. So if you're interested in getting serious about leveling up your content with lighting, I've actually designed a whole course that you can check out right here. Or if you'd like to learn a little bit more about one of my favorite COB lights to pair with this lantern, you can check that out right here. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, stay creative. Peace!